Hey everyone, you know, have you ever wondered, and I'm pretty sure you know about this, but for those of you that have always wondered, can you play your multiple HDMI devices, whether they be a game console, a Blu-ray or 4K player, well, Blu-ray or 4K UHD Blu-ray player, DVD, if it's got upscaling, or like I said, your game consoles like the Xbox One, the Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation 4, you name it. Or even some of those new retro ones like the NES Classic, or the SNES Classic, or the new one for Atari, which is, I think, what is it, the Retron 77 or something like that, where you can actually play cartridge Atari games in this little system that looks like a very miniature redesigned Atari 2600. But getting to the point, have you ever wondered how you can play them multiple ways? Almost like, basically, have you ever asked yourself, how can I do this without having to buy a more expensive TV that has multiple HDMI ports on it, or without having to switch back and forth? Like, let's say you have your cable box or your digital system or whatever plugged into the HDMI input on your TV, but you want to play your games and you have to unplug it to put your game in. Well, I've got a solution, and I'm pretty sure you guys know about it. Up here, you see, here, right above me or next to me, you see basically what's known as HDMI switchers. This one here is the on switcher from Walmart. Formerly, now, what I'm trying to say is, it does look very familiar, doesn't it? For some of you that may have seen me talk about something like this before, the one I talked about was the GE HDMI switcher, and it was a 4-way switcher. This is 5. This one here is also a switcher by Blackweb, which is another Walmart-oriented brand, but more like a premium brand. And it too has 4 to 5 switches. But the question is, why am I bringing this up? Well, again, have you ever wondered how you could avoid having to unplug and plug in and unplug different HDMI cables? This will do it. These devices will do it. And here's how they work. On each of them, they have what is known as an output. You connect your HDMI cable that's come with your TV to that output. And then you use the other inputs, if you will, as your connecting service. Basically what I'm trying to say, and it's about 11:51 at night, so I do apologize, I'm a little tired. But basically, you take those other 4 switches, which are basically your inputs, those additional switches, or HDMI ports, which are your inputs, and you connect each and every one of your devices. So let's say you want to play your PS4. You connect your PS4 to one of those switches. You connect your Xbox One to it. Heck, and just like me, you connect your cable or DirecTV or Dish Network box to it. Why? So that way you could basically switch at the touch of a button. Because that's basically what they are. Well, but that's basically what it is. It's a touch of a button. Now the Blackweb ones I have not yet used. This one though is closest. The Ion here is the closest I've had is the closest, I should say, to what my GE one is. And I have 2 of them. One in my room and one in the living room. And, believe it or not, these things actually work with the Roku devices. Now, another thing that's unique about these as well is how you can connect them. Like I said, primarily you connect the HDMI cord to your input of your back of your TV and to the output of the switcher, and then you go from there. But if you have, and this is the truth, this is the absolute truth, if you have a home theater system, whether it's a digital one, Bluetooth and all that, or it's like one that I have, which was by Durabrand, which has been with me since my days in Kansas, then all you have to do is get yourself a certain device. Now for me, I got myself what is known as an audio converter, sort of an audio switcher. What this allows me to do, basically the audio switcher, is convert what would be known as audio video, the audio video originally meant for a Durabrand home theater system, and convert it into and basically use it to convert the sound for HDMI. In other words, my Durabrand home theater system doesn't have no HDMI ports on it, not only red and white audio video. So what this device that I'm trying to say lets me do is it lets me basically connect the audio video to one side and connect the HDMI on the other, and there you go. The way this works, basically, just to make this long and short, is you take, basically, just like you're doing with the switcher, you take the output, you take your HDMI cable, and you connect it to the output of this audio switcher, and then you take another HDMI cable and you connect it from the input of it to the output of the switch of the HDMI switcher, and there you go. Kind of convoluted, but you kind of understand what I'm saying. But point being, even if you take that out of the equation, the audio switcher, let's take that out of the equation. You also have, basically, long story short, these devices will solve your HDMI problems. Even with your 4K UHD TVs, they will hopefully solve your problem. Because all you'll have to do is basically switch from one to another. Heck, when I watch TV and I want to watch, let's say, ESPN on Saturdays for college football, all I have to do is just switch it over to the input that has the cable connected. But now you might be asking, well, Brian, what if you have multiple HDMIs and you only have room for a couple of them? Won't you still fall into the same problem if you didn't have the switch? Oh, absolutely. In fact, that's kind of what I'm at right now. I have a Nintendo Switch. I have an Xbox One. Xbox One S, that is. I have the NES and SNES Classic. I have a device that allows me to take my audio video sources and convert them to HDMI by also using an HDMI switcher that I have in my room as well. Case in point. Point is, yes, I still kind of go through those kind of situations. But I think I have a solution that I have yet to do, but I have been considering. That solution is to buy an additional HDMI switcher. Now how this would work, I'm kind of figuring would go like this. Basically, I would connect the output of it, an HDMI, to the output of the new one and to the input of another. Or whatever. Then that way I'll be able to switch back and forth. So in this case, I would probably have 9 connected all at once, but I have yet to do that, and if any of you have tried that, let me know down below. But the reason I'm making this video, because I have talked about this before, is just to give a bit of advice on how to handle the HDMI problems you might have. And these things here will solve those problems. They're basically the modern day equivalent of what the audio switcher is. The audio switcher, of course, allowed you to switch between different audio video sources when you would have a regular TV. So, with that in mind, folks, I just thought I'd come on here and let you guys know what's happening, and give you guys a bit of advice of how to handle your HDMI problems. I know I sounded like I rambled a little bit because I am a little tired. It is almost midnight. very soon in about 2.5 minutes. But I thought again I'd just come out here and let you guys know how to solve this HDMI problem that you might have. So let me know what you all think. Comment below, and if any of you have tried what I'm thinking of doing, comment down below. Talk to y'all later.